Hey there, my friends. It's Brian King, the Mindset King here. I'm here with my colleague, Chris McClure, and this is the first time he and I are talking one-to-one.
That's
We've
right.
participated in mastermind meetings together, so we kind of know each other peripherally, but this is the first time it's just going to be he and I, and the reason he and I are talking is because I had an idea about just interviewing people casually about their experiences with mindset, beliefs and values and such that were holding them back until they made some kind of a shift in their mindset that improved their thinking. So this is going to be very loose. It's going to be very conversational, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. And Chris is the first one that stepped up when I put it out there that I was looking to do this. So first, I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And the other things I'll probably thank you for as my mind remembers what they actually are. Because with my ADHD scatterbrain, things come in and they go right back out. But yeah, being courageous enough to step into this, it being very unstructured, I applaud you for that. And your story about experiments with mindset, or whatever we decide to call this, is very common to entrepreneurs, where you come in with big hopes, you're expecting the floodgates to fly open just because you've hung out your shingle, and you base a lot of how you feel about yourself on how the business is doing.
Yep.
And if the business isn't doing good, it's really easy to beat up on yourself,
Yep.
which has this wonderfully cascading effect where now your business begins to suffer because you're beating up on yourself. But somewhere within that conversation, you also had a shift that began to improve things.
Yep.
Fair enough?
Absolutely.
So first, tell us, what is your business?
Yeah. So my business is called Lead Life Big, and it's executive coaching, leadership training, working with business leaders, business owners, and the, coaching realm of whether it be they're needing some help with life and work balance type things, or they're needing help with, taking next steps with their business and their teams. I love to do leadership trainings with teams and do some group trainings where we can really help them develop a common leadership language so they can make their teams better and organizations better. So I do a little bit of both between one-on-one coaching from the executive side, but also doing team training on the leadership training workshop and seminar side.
Nice. So you're not playing with, Joe Smith next door. You're dealing with some high caliber clients.
Yeah, most of these people that I'm really connecting with now you're talking senior level leaders in their organizations. So
These are not slackers.
These are not slackers. Actually, I've been kind of tweaking my value proposition statement on my website just to kind of clarify for folks who I'm really reaching out to, and it's really high performing and self motivated leaders and entrepreneurs. Those are the ones that I resonate with most. Those are the ones that seem to be really wanting to take their lives and their businesses to that next level.
Now, one thing that's really exciting about what you've said so far, and is so critical that the people watching this or listening to this here, and that is, even the best coaches occasionally have negative self-talk.
Absolutely.
We are not running around these enlightened beings that have immaculate perception and have all the answers. And there are some people, unfortunately, that will kind of go after their competition if there's any sign of vulnerability. And that is horse poop.
Yeah.
It's unprofessional, and it's not indicative of somebody who understands the human experience.
Yeah.
And that is, we're going to have those bumps. We're going to have those blind spots. You and I both belong to a community called Total Life Freedom. Mm-hmm. It started by Vincent Puglisi, who's a coach for us. Man's brilliant. And he still talks about his blind spots.
Yeah.
Somebody called me on something, or somebody helped me with this blind spot. He doesn't pretend to be the smartest kid in the room.
No, not at all.
As brilliant as he is, he's one of us. And that's something that you pointed out there as well, is, hey, I don't have all the answers. Sometimes I beat myself up.
Yeah.
In fact, when you first started out, what were some of the more negative conversations you were having with yourself about the way things were going?
Yeah, well, let me give you a little bit of my background too, because it's a big part of this. So for me, I've been a pastor for over 20 years. And so I started my business 3.5 years ago doing coaching and training because I have been a growing leader. I love leadership. I wanted to help leaders out in the business world. And some of my early hangups were I don't have a business background. I didn't have a business degree. I didn't have a business experience.
That's probably to your advantage.
Well, I'm learning. Yes, I'm learning that now. But back then I was thinking, who am I? You know, it was that imposter syndrome thing. Like, I felt led to go do this, but I didn't know I didn't feel like I was qualified, or I didn't feel like I was worthy or whatever. So I had to get over that first. Okay.
Okay. So we got the imposter syndrome, you know, who am I? I'm not good enough to do this. That again is so common, man. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. So that was my first steps. And then I realized, you know, I thought, kind of like you said early on, I thought if I just hung out my shingle, if I just put up my website, if I just let people know I'm doing this, that all of a sudden I would have all this business flocking to me. And I'll be real honest, man, now things are rolling for me. And it's been a 3.5 year journey of just consistent plodding day after day, week after week, month after month. And now I'm really, in the last few months, things have really started to connect. And a lot of that's just been through consistent networking. It's been through consistent relationship building. But because of that, you know, I was actually talking to my uncle this afternoon about this, that, you know, I realized that every time I wanted to give up, I really evaluated and said, the pain of regret is going to be greater than the pain of pressing forward. And so I just kept pushing, and I kept day by day by day. And then, you know, a friend of mine referred me to a reading one time a couple of years ago that really changed my mind. So you talk about that moment of a shift. Mm-hmm. And it was that, you know, that when we get a vision that we really want to go after, we also have to go through this process of being battered into the person we need to be to achieve that vision.
Absolutely.
So for me, I had this huge vision, but for some reason I was arrogant enough to think that I was just going to accomplish it as soon because I had the vision. And what I didn't realize was I had a lot of growing to do to grow into that vision. And when I understood that more, that this was a growing process so I could achieve that vision, that changed everything for me mentally.
I wish more people that go into business understand that. They mistakenly think that when they show up, that the decision of becoming an entrepreneur means that they're ready in every capacity to be successful.
Yep.
And what they don't realize is, well, if they had all of that stuff they needed, they'd be there already.
Right.
You know, people that start companies and they become millionaires, billionaires, it wasn't because they were sitting there in their lab cooking up this thing, and then as soon as they open the door, they're ready to go. Every time you run into a wall in your life or in your business, that doesn't mean that the goal is that you are not worthy of the goal.
Correct.
It simply means that you have not become who you need to be yet to handle the responsibility of that goal.
Yep.
In your life. You need broader shoulders. You need to be more resilient. You need to be more flexible, whatever it is. But most people hit that wall and say, oh, that's it. It's the universe telling me that I don't deserve this. I shouldn't have it. No, it's the universe telling you that you need to step it up.
Yep.
And
well, you know, it's crazy because you say
you'll
that.
Grow into it.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody just about this a couple of days ago. Like the first big contract that I actually gave as a proposal that got rejected was one that looking back now, if I would have been able to get that contract, it would have crushed me. I wasn't ready for it. You know, it was going to require too much of what I would have had to do. Now today, I believe I can pull that off. But back then, 3 years ago now, when I thought that it was like the golden ticket kind of a contract, it was too massive for what I was ready for at that time. And I let that be a blow to my ego. I let that be a blow to my self-worth or my vision even at the time, like, you know, because I wanted it so bad. But I look back now and I go, you know what, it was really a good thing that I didn't get that at that time. But it also was a good stepping stone for me to develop a proposal of that magnitude so that I could then build other proposals out, you know. So that was kind of a grand slam proposal for me. And what I realized was I needed to make a lot of base hits and doubles and triples before I, you know, was really ready to handle something like that.
So being given that opportunity, did you use that as an indication of what's possible for you?
Absolutely.
Like, man, if these kind of offers are out there, I better take this time to sharpen my saw.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I even reached out to some other coaches that I was connected to and said, I've got this opportunity. It's huge. But I don't know how to write a proposal for this. So I was part of a group at the time. and the guy said, hey, I'm used to doing bigger proposals. Let's talk and let me help you kind of think through it. So he did that. And so we put together basically what became my template for any future proposals now to companies for what I offer. And, I've tweaked it a little bit here and there based on what they need, but the framework was built. And that's what I'm saying. Like while I would have loved to have gotten that on the monetary value,
Mm-hmm.
what it gave me was a framework of how to move forward. And so even though I didn't get the contract and the cash, I learned a lot of lessons in that process that now I'm using regularly when I'm interacting with companies.
See, and that's perfect, because you asked yourself the question, how can I still make use of this?
Absolutely.
I didn't get the money. I didn't, get the contract, the boost to say, hey, man, I'm in the big leagues now. Look at what I got. You still found a way to turn that into a resource. And now you have something that is, you have a wheel that doesn't need to be reinvented every single time. You have that template that you can use.
Absolutely. And, and even last week, I was sending that proposal template to another guy that was getting into the coaching business. He said, do you have any, he's like, I don't even know where to begin. And I said, well, let me send you a couple of my sample contracts just so you can use them.
You mean that you unselfishly shared with another colleague? You weren't like, no, this is my stuff. You can't have this.
Man, generosity is part of my DNA, so I've got to
see. And that's another thing people miss. They think that everything is proprietary and they have to be so productive, and everybody, protective rather, and everybody is their competition, and competition can't see what they're doing, and they don't have the abundance mindset that, hey, this pie is pretty darn huge.
Yeah,
there are 3 billion people on Facebook alone.
Yeah,
how many people are you going to need to run your business successfully? 30 maybe.
Right.
What the heck are you fighting over?
Yeah.
The pie is big enough,
Well, that's it.
Help people succeed.
Yeah. And I, once again, I mean, the reason I even had that proposal in the first place was because somebody else was willing to help me put it together and make sense of it. And so why would I not pay that forward, to somebody else who's starting out?
There you go. Right there, man. Paying it forward, keeping that momentum of generosity going. When everybody feels helped, supported, and it's only natural that they would be helpful, unless they're a jerk.
Right.
Then they're unfortunately going to burn themselves out, because they're cutting off their own supply of oxygen by not being helpful.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I also want to point out about what you said, which is really important, is that it's taken you 3 years to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine you've seen this too. And there are people that I respect that do this. They have promises of fast cash.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow my system, if you do these 10 points, you'll make $1,000 the first day you send your ebook and stuff out there. And to me, that is just irresponsibly deceptive.
Yeah.
Because even though somebody has been able to do it, that doesn't mean it's easily duplicatable. Right. A lot of these things that people are saying are fast cash were very hard to do, were done under unique circumstances, and the likelihood of this being consistently repeatable is really low.
Yeah.
So be honest and say, hey, you're in it for the long game.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 3 years. It took me, there have been ebbs and flows, building a reputation, people getting to know that you're out there, getting to trust you. Yeah. There are so many variables, and it's worth sticking it out.
Yeah.
To earn your place in the marketplace.
Well, it's interesting because even just a couple hours ago, I took a break to go get some lunch, and I walked into a local restaurant that I was grabbing my lunch from, and I ran into a local business leader, and hadn't seen her in a while, and it was her and her team that was there, and just started chatting. She's like, hey, I was going to reach out to you anyway because I want to hire you this summer for an event we're doing with our young leaders, and it's our Chamber of Commerce president is who it is. And she's like, they want you back. You worked with a group last year. We want to pay you this year to do something else with us. Wow. I mean, I literally just went, this is one of those things where because of the networking, because of the relationship building, because of the persistence and the consistency of a presence, she and I have established a relationship, in the community as well as online as Facebook friends, for instance, and just stayed connected. And so as she's building out her programs for 2019, they literally saw me like, hey, we need to talk to you. So it's one of those things where it wasn't like they had the idea because they saw me. It was, they were going to reach out to me already anyway, but it was because of the relationship that we fostered. But that's been this work in progress thing that I've been doing for 3 years.
Is there any metaphor that you would liken it to?
Oh man.
I'm a big fan of Zig Ziglar's priming the pump metaphor.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
You know,
I think it's just this whole thing. You know, what I really think draws me back to though is in Think and Grow Rich, when Napoleon Hill talks about the need for persistence. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole chapter that he talks about. And I've gone through that study before with some leaders. And one of the exercises we had to do was read that chapter on persistence for 14 days straight. And it was just a test of persistence. You know, are you willing to do that one task for 14 days in a row? And that was the whole point of the exercise. So yeah, I mean, priming the pump, you know, just the continuing to, you know, just like even thinking about splitting a log, you got to keep chipping away, you know, the axe hitting the wood time and time again until you find, you know, that last swing isn't the one that split the wood in and of itself. It's just the one that gets the credit.
That's absolutely correct. And a lot of results, people have no idea what kind of work went into it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a saying out there that the average overnight success took 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you see them when everything broke loose, but it was years and years of relentlessness, persistence, and so on. And I know that you've got a couple minutes here before you got to move on with your day.
Yeah.
Any last thing that you want to share, like insights of yours in terms of a fundamental shift that you made in your thinking that made a huge difference for you?
Yeah, I think I would just encourage people to keep in mind, if you have a vision for something, then you need to pursue that. You know, that the world needs it. Somebody needs it. There's a tribe out there. There's a group of people out there that need what you have to offer. And if you don't keep at it, if you don't stay persistent and push through these invisible walls that can hold you back, you're actually going to make other people miss out on what you have to offer. And that is, to me, as a person who wants to help people, as much as it is that I want to succeed for myself and my family, what I also don't want to have happen is I don't want to make other people miss out on a better life experience because I gave up. And so this mindset game is so, I mean, it'll play tricks on you for sure. But if you can push through and you can press through the walls, there are people that need your message. There are people that need your service or your product or whatever it is that you're offering. And if you give up, then those people may not get what they need. And so I've had people who, I've even told friends, I'm like, if you are going to do this for you, do it for the people who need what you have to offer, you know? And so I think that's a big shift that I have a responsibility. I feel a responsibility, let me say it that way, at least, to serve other people with what I have to offer. And if I don't keep moving forward, then they're going to miss out.
And that sense of responsibility is one of those things that will keep you going when you've been knocked down. Awesome conversation, Chris. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, this has been fun, Brian.
This is a great way to start off this series. And I hope the rest of you that watch this really enjoyed it. Drop us some comments. Connect with Chris if you possibly can to see what kind of beautiful work he's doing. And Chris, I'll let you go so you can get on with your day. And everybody, look forward to the next conversation. Take care, man.
Thanks. Take care.